Hello and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, the podcast that takes a topic each week and, as the name suggests, cast views. This week I have got a wonderful person with me. He was the first guest on the show. He is the founder of the PodPack Collective. He is the red panda we all know and love on social media. I've got Satsu from Chatsunami. Hi, Satsu.
Hey there, lovely to be back again, and thank you for the very warm introduction there.
It's my pleasure. I've said this before, but we've got a long history, haven't we? In that, well, as long as history is like 2.5 years. But I remember at the start of my podcast, we made contact. I can't remember how. And we were talking for a while before we eventually started collabing. Yeah, since then, I don't think we've looked back in terms of you've been on here a few times now. I've been on yours a couple of times. It's been a fun journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, ever since the lockdown, and I've said this to a couple of people, but I feel as if time is a flat circle now, where you say, oh yeah, I only started podcasting a couple of months ago, and you check the calendar and go, wait a minute, 2020 was like yesterday, right? Yeah. No, okay.
Yeah, the time
Yeah.
is just flying. It's just flying. Look, it's great to have you on, and I've got you on for another great episode. You've been on for some quite interesting ones, and I think this one carries on that theme. And I know you always bring the good, so I'm looking forward to this. So I mentioned in the intro the PodPack Collective. Let's talk about that for a little bit. That's been a bit of a journey as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, surprisingly so. So, for any of the lovely listeners out there who doesn't know what the PodPack Collective is, I mean, first of all, what you do and go check them out. Second of all, yeah, it is a group of podcasters, as you said, founded by myself, and yeah, we basically try to spread a little bit of positivity amongst the indie podcasting community. We try to support one another. And it basically stemmed from, and I think it was a conversation that Sean from the Review It Yourself podcast had said as well, that it basically stemmed from the fact that we were all talking, like as you said, that we've been talking for years. I'd been talking to Review It Yourself. I'd met other people in the collective, like Luke from the Nerdstalgic podcast, Beth and Marie from the Two Girls One Reusable Cup podcast. Yes, that is the podcast name. Big shout out to them. You know, there were so many of these amazing podcasts. Seismic Cinema as well, that's another one. And I basically thought, well, we're collabing anyway. But you know that way when podcasters collab and everything, and then it kind of people listen to it and then they go, all right, okay, that was a great collab, but then they kind of move on. I wanted a kind of banner or some kind of like signal, not a bat signal, to go
yeah,
that far,
yeah, yeah.
but just like a signal to say we're part of this amazing group, here to promote positivity, here to say that, you know, the podcasting space is like such a great place to collab and things like that. And honestly, I'm just surprised at how it's really grown, because it literally just started, I think the 1st of January is when we officially kicked it off. But I mean, since then, we've got a Twitter page at PodPack Collect. We've got an Instagram page at PodPack_collective, because I had issues with Instagram. That's another story. We've also got a Discord server, which is absolutely amazing to see, because there's hundreds of creators who have actually joined there. They're not necessarily part of the PodPack, but I've seen already a lot of them meeting each other and collabing and really just fostering that positive community, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, I honestly couldn't have done it without you guys. So thank you as well.
No, it's been great. So we had kind of a little soft launch in December, didn't we? So
Mhm.
the group of us, we spent the month of December basically just chatting away on Twitter in a private message. And then, as you said, on the 1st of January went live. So as it stands, it's yourself, a Nerdstalgic, Two Girls, One Reusable Cup, Review It Yourself, Seismic Cinema, Stop, Drop and Roll Initiative, and Weird Horizon alongside myself. And as you said, I've probably been in and around interacting with these people on Twitter anyway. But yeah, I've got to have recently Sean from Review It Yourself. I've had Seismic Cinema on. or a couple of members of, and Marie on. And yeah, it's just great to broaden the podcast friends, as it were, and also have them on this show to do something slightly different. Yeah, it's been a great 6 months. And as you said, the Discord, yeah, I'm going to put the links in the show notes. Honestly, it's such a fun place, as most Discord channels are. So yeah, I do recommend signing up if you're not a member already. As you said, there's a collab channel in there, and it's great just seeing people meeting away, as you said. So yeah, drop by, say hello, maybe stay for a collaboration or two. Yeah.
I mean, it's just exactly what you said there. The fact that there are so many diverse podcasts out there. Like, I mean, there's you and I who do like a lot of variety stuff. You've got the film ones like Review It Yourself, Seismic Cinema. I know Nerdstalgic, look, he kind of dips into everything. You've got sustainability with, as you said, Two Girls, One Reusable Cup. You've got Dungeons and Dragons with Stop, Drop and Roll. You've got Weird Horizons as well, and the Game Club Pod, of course. And you've also got Ben from Push Pull Health, who deals with, you know, fitness and things. You know, it's absolutely crazy to see how the group is growing and, yeah, just reaching out there. Because I feel as if a lot of people are starting to twig on that it's a group, like
Mm.
just kind of floating about. I mean, I was checking the Twitter for it today, and I noticed that Good Pods, shout out to Good Pods, had started following us. So you know what?
I'll have that. Oh,
Yeah,
excellent. Yeah.
not too
Okay.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, you know
Hi,
we've
good
made it
pods.
big.
Yeah. Hi, good pods. Right. And a little bit about yourself. So it feels like every time you're on here, there's either you've toppled or demolished a milestone or about to. So I think the last time you were on, you were at the 50K mark, and now, well, at time of recording anyway. So by the time this goes out, this will already be out of date. But you're close to the 60K mark now, aren't you?
Yeah, by the time you listen to this episode, I'll be in like a super yacht or something, surely. You
That's where
know,
you're recording this from, aren't you?
yeah.
Or- yeah.
Listen, I've been listening to a lot of manifestation podcasts, okay? No, for legal reasons, that's a joke. But yeah, you're right. We are now sitting at 50,000 plays, which is absolutely insane for an indie podcast. So for anybody listening there who goes, "Oh, I recognise that voice," thank you so much, because it honestly does mean the world to me that so many people out there are stopping by to listen and, yeah, supporting the show.
I mean, we were talking beforehand. I'm not sure when this episode is going to go out. It's either going to go out in the start of June or July. Yeah, you're currently working at time of recording. You're doing a Star Wars month, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. It has been an absolute challenge, I have to say, in a good way and a bad way. Because I was talking to my co-host, who's gratefully helping me, Andrew, and he was saying how this is probably the most that we've actually had to watch for a month of well, see, he says that, but we did do a Lord of the Rings
I
month,
was going to
so
say, yeah.
yeah. No, he said that like, oh, that it's been a lot of work and things because obviously we've had to do like 6 2-hour movies, well, give or take 2 hours, but you know we've done all of them for the prequel trilogy, original, and the sequel trilogy. We've also got a game review coming up for the 2004 Star Wars Battlefront, which should be quite cool. And then, of course, we capped off with a trivia, as we always do with these
Yeah.
theme months. But yeah, thinking back to it, I'm like, hold on, that doesn't track because we watched the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then we watched the Hobbit trilogy. But you know, the less said about that.
Well, I was going to ask, did you watch the normal version, the extended version, the extendified extended version, the director's extended version of those
O-
films?
only for only for the original trilogy for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
For the Hobbit, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Although I don't think there's very much added to that, which is really weird because the the Lord of the Rings one, it's like a full hour or something
Yeah. Yeah. I
added
remember
onto.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's totally worth it, but fortunately, Oh, actually, I was going to say, fortunately, Star Wars doesn't have that, but I completely forgot that George Lucas went back and re-edited the original trilogy, and Disney Plus only has those versions. So, yeah, that's fun. If you want to see like a CGI abomination like sing in front of a green slug man, then yeah, go watch Return of the Jedi on Disney Plus. Yeah, fun times. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, before we go into our ad break, you may not have inadvertently done almost a little link to today's episode there, but we'll discuss that the other side of this break, where you're going to hear from some friends of the show.
The Cult Worthy Podcast. Join me, Antonio Palacios, each week as I guide you through a never-ending sea of obscure cinema and cult-worthy gems that deserve a rediscovery. Find me on all listening platforms and at thecultworthy.com. The Cult Worthy Podcast. Join us.
Right, and we are back. So, Satsu, I have got you on to talk about unusual film and game merch and tie-ins, right? And I think this suits you to a T, right?
Oh, absolutely. See, when you said, "Oh, do you want to do an episode on this?" I was like, you know what? Say no more. I'm in. I've got the I've got the list ready. Top 100 like worst things. And I mean, I have to say it's very topical considering I think it was last month or the month before, whenever June 2 came out and they had the infamous popcorn bucket.
Well, you showed me that. I was a bit surprised at that.
I was actually more surprised that you hadn't seen it because it was everywhere. People were like, I'm sorry, what? And, everyone was just like absolutely horrified by this creation.
So I thought, yeah, there's some interesting stuff in here. When I started looking, because, obviously before I commit an episode idea, kind of have a look. And I thought, well, we could probably do 2 or 3 on this. But I had a quick look. Generally, I like to sort of set the scene. So apparently, merchandise has been associated with Hollywood films anyway since the 1930s,
Oh.
with the deliberate production of additional commodities associated with films, but has become more common since the 1970s and even more so during the last 10, 20 years. Now, 1970s, I'm guessing it's no coincidence that a George Lucas film launched in that decade, right?
Oh, of course. In fact, have you heard the story behind that for the toys? Apparently, and this was like linking back to saying how I was doing like the research for Star Wars month. Apparently, when the original trilogy came out, and this isn't weird merch by any means,
Yeah.
but it's a weird way of going about it because they didn't expect Star Wars to be as popular as it was when it came out in 1977. So what they started doing was because, toys are of course very lucrative to sell to kids and things. They didn't have any toys because they thought, you know what, this isn't going to be popular. This is just going to be another sci-fi flop. It obviously wasn't when they were that in hindsight. So they gave kids these it was like cardboard with Star Wars characters like printed out on them.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the idea was they were supposed to like redeem them once they got the toys in stock, but I don't think they got them until like next year or something. So like
Okay.
there was a lot of kids in 1977 who were waking up to cardboard, and I find that both sad and hilarious.
That's brilliant. Yes,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what I did see though, one of the first examples though was actually in 1929 with Disney. So of course it would start with Disney, right? The company was offered $300 to put Mickey Mouse on writing tablets, and they used that income to help finance
Mhm.
production of new films. So, but yeah, as you said, I think Star Wars is probably what kicked it off, even if it was just cardboard cutouts. So, what is it? Kind of like an IOU? Is that what we were saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It was like all of the characters were printed on it and the big Star Wars logo and everything. It's like, oh, here you go, kids, hold on to this like cardboard card. And, they just really had to wait. And I wish I could say, oh, they learned their lesson and everything. But I mean, look at the 90s with Buzz Lightyear, with Tickle Me Elmo, with even Jingle All the Way made fun of it with their
Yeah,
film and Turbo Man. So yeah, we've not learned. Really
yeah.
not learned.
Right, and this is where this
Mhm.
episode steps in. Now, for me, not all of mine, they're not necessarily like bizarre in the sense of there's something really, it's a strange product, but a couple of mine are, why would they have done that for that, if you know what I mean? So we'll probably get into it, but as always, you're the guest, so you will go first. Let's have your first unusual tie-in.
Right. So, have you ever heard of like a small indie franchise called Harry Potter?
The name rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if you heard it or not, but I just wanted to double check because I don't think a lot of people listening there for legal reasons. This is a joke.
It's a franchise that causes a blooming queues at King's Cross Station because they've got the shop and that photo op right near the loos. So yeah, anyway,
Or did they have it right beside the toilet?
well, near enough, yeah, in King's Cross. So next time you go, check that out. Yeah, but yeah, I believe I've heard of that name.
So years ago, they have Harry Potter in practically everything. I have seen so many pictures, and I feel sorry for the actors and everything having to go into like, I mean, not that I'm saying they would, but they go into Primark or something, and it's like, oh look, there's my face on a pair of socks, or there's my face in like an ornament or a jumper.
Yeah,
It's absolutely wild, and even to this day, you can still get them. But the one that I want to talk about is, and I think it came out probably around the time of the early films, so kind of between the Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone for the Americans, to Prison of Azkaban. It was kind of that early 2000s. There was a broomstick that they made for it, and it was the Nimbus 2000. So it was based off of the broom that Harry Potter flies around in the very first film. Now, I remember I got one of these and I had, no idea why this was so controversial because let's face it, I was an innocent kid, I had no idea. I was just like, oh yeah, let's play with a broom. And it wasn't until I was watching this video about this guy, and this was years and years ago, and he was like reviewing old toys and things, which makes me feel old saying that. But he said, "Oh, look at this, Harry Potter broom, and oh, it's got a very controversial feature." And I was like, "Controversial? It's a plastic broom. What's controversial about it?" Well, dear listeners, long story short, it has a button that has a vibrate function. I never really gave this like a thought. I never, obviously kids wouldn't, but apparently it was very popular with a certain demographic. That's all I'm going to say.
I was going to say why. Yeah. Anyway, you carry on.
Yeah, no. So apparently, what they ended up doing was they re-released the broom, but they took out the function, as it were. So it was just a hump of plastic. Which I know the Two Girls One Usable Cup podcast. I know they'll be thrilled to know that they re-released this product with just hundreds of lumps of plastic, which are either sitting in a magical landfill or in someone's attic or whatever. But yeah, I genuinely couldn't believe that's what people, that way where it's like you're clutching your pearls going, well, I never, kind of thing.
I don't want to know what you're clutching.
No.
But, so that was marketed at that demographic, right? Or was it a general tie into the film?
No, it was a general tie-in to the film.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but because of said function, that's what apparently... Because obviously, this was, again, it was a simpler time. It was an innocent time before the internet corrupted everything. But, that way it's like, I didn't really have access to the internet at the time. It was like the early 2000s, It's not really the same as nowadays where you can, flick out your phone and scroll and see the reviews and whatnot. So this revelation didn't come until much later.
Yeah, that's odd, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's like it's not really a case of it being intentionally weird, but it's like something that, much like a lot of the other things that we're going to talk about, they clearly didn't think it through.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple that are going to be like that, I think. And you wonder, did they think it through or didn't they think it through, or did they? There's no such thing as a bad marketer, I think, at times.
What you mean? There's just like one sweaty Harry Potter fan at the back saying, "Oh, trust me, we need this function."
Well, it's like, yeah, you wonder, did they think it might have a secondary market? Who knows?
Probably.
And this is what I'm going to come on to one of mine, though. But the thing is, yeah, it's just associating it with a brand that's obviously for children, right? Is just, yeah,
Yeah,
wrong, right?
It's grim, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think moving on. I'm going to start off with a quick one here. This one, I just found this funny. I mean, there's nothing bad with it, but it's a play shave set for kids based on the Transformers. Now, I don't know if you saw that.
No, not at all.
So I've only found a little bit on it, but if you can find some pictures on the net, and the tagline on the back of the box goes, "Lather up and have fun with your Transformers shave set. It's more than meets the eye." And basically, it is a plastic play shave set containing an electric shaver, which doesn't work, is a make-believe one, body soap, a lather brush, lip balm, aftershave, and a comb. So it's kind of like based for 6-year-old kids, or aimed at 6-year-old kids. I don't get the Transformers and the play shave set. It's almost like maybe the manufacturers had excess stock of this kit and couldn't sell it. So it's like, let's stick Optimus Prime on the razor, you know?
I mean, it's almost a bit like, you know, when you get, and I can't remember if it's you I was talking to about this, but you know, when you get certain foodstuffs and things like that with just random things slapped to the side, and it's like SpongeBob or,
Yeah.
you know, Thomas the Tank and things. I actually watched a really, and this was years and years ago, but it was a fascinating documentary about like child psychology in relation to marketing and things. And there was like a clip where they basically had to, you know, the like spaghetti shapes or whatever they're called, and
Yeah.
you know, they got a child to eat one of them, and then they said like, "Oh, which one's better?" And they were like, "Oh, the SpongeBob one's better than the regular brand," despite the fact that the child had never eaten the SpongeBob one in the first place. But because of that association, they thought, "Oh, that's the better one,"
Yeah.
because of that familiarity. So yeah, psychology's weird, especially for this though. Yeah.
But the thing about this one is I don't recall a time when Megatron had to shave during a film. Or why you would ever need to shave during a film. You know?
Well, I mean, clearly you're not watching the extended edition, you know, the Michael Bay cut, as it were.
The behind the scenes, the outtakes, yeah. When Optimus has got that 5 o'clock shadow, yeah.
I was going to say, did Gillette appear in any Transformers films or?
So yeah, I just found that a funny one. So that's my first one: Transformers play shave kit.
So I just looked at the next one that I have on my list, but I'm going to skip ahead to another one because I don't want you to think poorly of me. So this one is a really, really strange one. Apparently, when, you know, the Call of Duty series and bringing it onto gaming, apparently there was like a collector's edition for it. And I always remember the collector's edition was where you got the like RC car. It was like the RC
yes.
See,
Yeah.
now that's on brand because I've seen they've done things like that in the past with you know, the night vision goggles and things like that. But for this one, they sold a Jeep, and I don't think anybody bought it. It was just a regular black Jeep, but they sold it as if, "Oh, get the exclusive Black Ops Jeep." And I'm going to be honest, I don't actually remember there being any moments that you would have there's no moments you would have ever driven it because it's set during the Cold War. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't I don't really see many 1980s cars like, or you know, military jeeps as a whole driving around. I don't know, maybe it is in America, but it's really weird because I think it was like $50,000 or something at the time. Like, would you buy that? See if you were really into a video game and you were told, "Oh, you could get a car related to it," but it was just like a normal car with a decal on it.
I mean, it's video games did go through a period of really crazy marketing, didn't they? And actually, I think we did an episode that kind of touched on that, because I remember there was a Saints Row one. I think there was $1 million version of it, and one of them was like appearing in a film, or you get stunt lessons and you get a walk-on part in a film or something. And it's like, at what point again are you just trying to shoehorn these events into a topical franchise of the day? Because yeah, like you said, how many people that's just buying Call of Duty just to play with their mates are going to necessarily be interested in it? I mean, it's I guess it's a fun way of marketing the game, right?
It's absolutely crazy to think, because, and I mean, and no offense to Call of Duty players, but let's face it, it's more for a younger demographic, like in terms of teenagers, young adults, that kind of thing. Trust me, I'm not old to swear,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think many of them would be buying a car. I mean, I'm looking here, and it is saying that they did seem to sell, because apparently they sold them for $10,000 more than like the standard models, because they made about 1,200 of them.
Did they chuck the game in though with it?
You know what? It doesn't specify. I would hope so. I would genuinely hope so at that price. You know, I would honestly be expecting the full console to go with it. Because do you remember when they used to do that? I don't know if they still do anymore. I think they do. You know, like when you get a new phone, I mean, not a car, sorry. Yeah, and they like say, oh, here's the new, like, I don't know, PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. But yeah, I'm not buying a Jeep. That's all I'm saying. I'm not buying a Jeep.
No, if I've got to buy a car, there's a lot of research goes into it, and the fact that it's got, as you said, a Call of Duty sticker on the side of it won't be the thing that sways me.
No, not at all.
I'm going to group a couple of mine together because they are in the same category. But if I asked you, how would you fancy smelling like Hulk or Leon from Resident Evil? How would that take you?
I would say, where do I sign up?
Yeah, there was kind of a little bit of a trend for having aftershave or cologne based on IP. First one I found was based on the Avengers, and the tagline went, "Do you want to smell like a superhero? Well, now you can with this range of colognes." So the ones I found, and I actually managed to find a description of them just so I could give you the full info. So the first one is Patriot, the scent of Captain America. And apparently, if you want to smell like Captain America, it's a blend of green lime, white pepper, dry oak wood, sandalwood, and tequila. You've got Iron Man Mark 7, and that's blended scents of mandarin, neroli, nasturtium, jasmine, and patchouli. You can smell like Thor, which was called Worthy, and that contains blended scents of bergamot, frozen ginger, wheatgrass, grapefruit, cypress, dark amber, cedarwood, and dry musk. I mean, I quite like the sound of that one. You've got Hulk Smash, which contains blended scents of yuzu, bergamot, tarragon, water lily, nutmeg, sandalwood, vetiver, dry musk, and warm cedar. And Nick Fury's Infinity Formula, which all I could find was contains blended scents. There was one based on Loki called Mischief. And for ladies, it said don't feel left out, as the maker has also released a Black Widow perfume containing scents of citrus, fresh berries, caramel, honey, dry sandalwood, bit chocolate, patchouli, and praline. Now, the interesting one here was then also Resident Evil, just a couple of years ago, released a line of this as well. So Capcom in 2021, and I think this was only in Japan, released a set of 3 in some nice little bottles. So you had one based on Chris. His fragrance is fougere with hints of cloves and black pepper, intended to remind wearers of the heroism of the grizzled zombie-killing veteran.
Oh my god.
Leon's fragrance, in contrast, is a citrusy blend designed to create a refreshing, cool feel. And finally, Jill's fragrance is described as a sweet smell, reminiscent of fruit and evocative of the character's intelligence and sense of justice. So how does that grab you?
I'm going to be honest. if anybody comes up to me, whether this is on the street, whether this is at Comic-Con, whether this is me just doing my shopping, if they come up, take a good long whiff of me and say, "Oh, you smell like Leon from Resident Evil," I would be calling the nearest police officer and saying, "What is wrong with you?" Like, that's the thing, though. With perfumes and things like that and scents, you're trying to make a statement. People will smell it and go, "Oh, what's that fruity smell?" And, you'll say the brand and everything. I have never in a million years played a game and went, "I wonder what that guy smells like."
Yeah.
And even less so, I wonder what that heroin smells like. Who is asking that? Again, it's a very warranted to be on this list, but have a word with yourself if you're getting these kind of fragrances.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this, and are they hoping that this is like the gateway cologne into getting the market to buy your brand then of aftershave and perfume later on in life? I don't know, because if you want to wear aftershave and cologne, you're going to be buying it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or all of a sudden you're going to say, "Oh, well, I can buy the Capcom Resident Evil smelly set. I'm in." Do you know what I mean? It just feels really, and based on Resident Evil. I mean, I know obviously the main characters are quite, even in the game, they're quite stylized and, iconic, aren't they? But it's like in the middle of a zombie virus outbreak, they're still taking the time to make themselves smell appealing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They
It's,
clearly don't smell of sweat, blood, and tears from running away from zombies. No, 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 no. No, we
in Resident Evil 9, like when you go to one of the restrooms, you see like the character pull out a bottle of cologne and just slap it on their face or spray it into the eyes of one of the zombies.
Yeah, I'm just thinking instead of Albert Wesker's, the ridiculously long revolver, it's just a ridiculously long fragrance bottle. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, what does he smell of? Victory.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or they pull out a little bottle and say, "Oh, did you think this was a T-virus? No, this is Leon's cologne. And if you want to smell like him, it's only $60. Yeah, I did have the price for that. I think the 3 bottles, I can't remember if it was, I think it was $60 for the set or if it was $60 each. But, to be fair, when I looked at it, especially the Resident Evil ones, the bottles did look nice. But then aftershave and cologne and perfume, they do know how to package them, don't they?
But I mean, does that come with the free jacket? Leon's jacket. Does
do, you
that? Yeah.
do you remember the game? Yeah, that they did that.
Was that Resident Evil 4?
Yeah, wasn't it something
Yeah.
like $600 a game?
Oh, yeah. For a leather jacket. I mean, the jacket looks cool, don't get me wrong, but come on, you're targeting it at gamers.
Do you know what? I think we should do that as a separate episode. I think there we go. I've locked you in for another one. There you go.
Absolutely.
Okay, over
I'm in.
to you. What have you got?
Okay, I'm going to group 3 of mine together, and I'm going to create a picture of the perfect date night. Okay.
Okay.
So
wearing your Hulk smash cologne, right?
Yeah, of course. Oh, please, I'm more of an Iron Man. Come on now. So, imagine, you bring home, that very special, guy or girl in your life, and, you come in and you say, "Hold on, let me just light this candle." And you go over, and the label reads, I can't even get through my own bit here. The label reads, "Red Dead Redemption 2 candle," which I'm told is not only not available in our region, and I think now it's 50% off. Yeah, I double checked. It's no, it doesn't ship to the UK, and I'm probably for the best,
It's incredible.
Yeah, this one apparently on release, this was sold officially by Rockstar, and it was sold at the time anyway when it came out for $100.
Wow.
I mean, I don't even buy Yankee candles for that price. Never mind a Red Dead Redemption candle. So this is a description, and this isn't me being, hyperbolic or making fun of it. This is genuinely what the website says. "Clean out your nostrils with this blood orange, incense, amber, rock rose, smoked cedar, sandalwood, violet leaf, and juniper tar scented black wax candle in a stunning patterned black glass. So the question is, when are you getting them for the pod pack, Dan?
Well, you hold the budget, so it's all down
Oh,
to
that's
you.
true. Okay, I'm vetoing it then.
That's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
if I want to look at the logical link there, you could say, right, well, they didn't have electricity in the times the game was set, did they? Or did they? I can't remember now.
They technically did. It was kind of the end of the 19th century. Yeah.
But anyway, right, forget
Mhm.
putting that all aside.
Mhm.
At what point, as a gamer, are you walking in the shop and said, I need a candle? Do you know what? I'm going to get that Red Dead Redemption candle. You know, at what point do you think that's what's going to happen? I don't know.
I just don't think that is the thing that gamers, especially cowboy enthusiasts, gravitate towards. You know, you would think of like, I don't know, a hat or stirrups, even a saddle. See, if I saw a saddle on the list, I'd say, that's weird, but I can understand it.
Well,
But a
I'd
candle,
actually understand a pretend play shave set for this.
yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, you could draw the beard on and then, like, wipe it off. Yeah. Like, that would make sense. But
Yeah,
a
yeah.
candle is so weird.
Did you
And
say
to
$100? Sorry.
$100.
See, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to spend that on like electrical equipment, and you're telling me $100 on a candle.
Do you know, I probably spent less on my microphones, like per microphone, rather than,
No, that's
yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm going to be honest, guys. Like, I'm not paying $100 for a candle. No.
But does your microphone smell of sandalwood and the smell of, you know, the countryside like that candle would do? Yeah.
Listen, I'm working on it, okay? I'm going to take it on a city break, see what scents it picks up, and then, you know what?
Well,
We'll regroup in the next episode, you
well,
know?
where I was leading to was, right, what's the PodPack Collective fragrance is going to be like? So for those of them listening, start working on that now. We're getting this out for Christmas.
Mhm. There's going to be a lot of hard work and dedication, whatever that smells like. Imagine then, like, imagine your date at that point hasn't run away, and you say, would you like a drink from my, you know, very special fridge? To which they're saying, what the hell is your very special fridge? So you walk over and you show them your Xbox fridge, which, do you remember this when the Xbox
Yeah.
Series X came out? I
X,
think,
yeah.
yeah. And it was like, why are you selling this? Sell games, don't sell this. But no, they ran with the meme and they decided, yeah, we're going to sell an Xbox fridge. But if that doesn't put off your day, then the next thing I'm about to say probably will. So, you know Angry Birds, that very visceral mobile game that used to be so popular in the 2010s? Much like Harry Potter, they have plastered their face everywhere. You know, they've plastered themselves on, like, I don't know, cups and food and things like that. Underwear as well, apparently. So if your date hasn't run out by now, the sight of you in Angry Birds underwear, I think, is probably going to make them run, which is a horrifying thought. I apologize, but it's just, I genuinely get it. You know, that way when I'm just sitting here, when I was reading the list and that I came across that, and I was just like, okay, maybe this is like a bootleg, or, you know, it's like seeped in somehow. No, it's all official. And I'm like, what? Why?
It honestly is a case
Oh.
of just slapping
Mhm.
a franchise image onto anything and everything if it's hot at the time, right? Isn't it? That's but underwear just feels
I mean, see, I say that, but I've also seen I've also seen Call of Duty T-shirts aimed towards kids who are clearly like too young to play the games. So it's like they will sell anything. And I mean, considering I, of course, grew up in the 90s with all of, you know, the targeted adverts of things that clearly weren't appropriate, like Ghostbusters, for example, was a big one. Well, okay, that's not that bad. But you had like Terminator toys. Oh, what was the other? Robocop, that was it. You had Robocop as well. You know, films that clearly weren't appropriate for kids, but they're like, oh, we've got a toy of them here, run forth. So,
Well, do you know what? It's
ah.
really funny you say that because I'll quickly mention one of mine after, but
Mhm.
I remember having, as a kid, Gremlins toy. Now, the first Gremlins is actually fairly, I wouldn't call it a kid's film, right? Not the first one. I don't know if you've seen it, but the second one becomes a bit more of a comedy. But yeah, I remember having like one of these big, not action figure isn't the right word, but it was like a rubberized figure of Stripe, the main villain gremlin.
Mhm.
And also having like the comic book version of the RoboCop film. Now, the RoboCop film is quite a violent story, right? But it was there, done in comic form, which you could buy from the newsagent. I will get back to yours actually briefly. So you've brought your date home, smelling like Loki or Chris from Resident Evil. They've walked in to see a Red Dead Redemption 2 candle lit. You're getting them drinks from the Xbox fridge, all while wearing your Angry Birds underwear. I mean, come on, who's going to say no to that, right?
Exactly. Listen, all I'll say is there's a reason why my partner doesn't know my past, okay? You know, she must never know.
But the one I wanted to quickly say, I'll do this as an honourable mention, is like you were saying about things that are aimed at kids that shouldn't be. And in 1987 and 1988, they actually did Rambo annuals. Now, I don't know in America if the concept of annuals is the same as here, but I don't even know if they still do them here. But you would get like a hardback book of an IP. Again, it could be like the comics were generally the ones like you get a Dandy, a Beano, you might get like a Doctor Who one, and it would have comic strips, features, games, puzzles. But they did them for Rambo. Now, these things are aimed at kids, right? So you've got one of the most violent characters in cinema history, and then they've got colouring activities for 8-year-olds in there. So, yeah.
I mean, it's not the worst activity book I've seen, and I'll hold my tongue for that because
Oh,
I've got
really?
one on the list. Well,
Oh,
do
okay.
you want me
Okay.
to bring it up now while we're
Yeah,
on it?
yeah. Let's do that now then. Yeah, go on.
Okay. Just very briefly, when I was looking through the lists of like really weird merch, one of the ones I came across, which was really really weird, was you know Dune, or sorry, Dune, the film,
Yeah,
not the new one with the weird popcorn bucket, but the 1984 one that was
yeah.
directed by David Lynch. It starred Kyle MacLachlan. Yeah, that has a colouring book, and or rather, they label it as an activity book, and it's got some wonderful scenes in that, like showing Paul Atreides' dad dying, and it's like, oh yeah, make sure you colour him between the lines of his death. Like yeah, that was just bizarre to me. Like again, it's like it's not maybe the most violent film, but
No,
I
but
wouldn't say it
it's
was appropriate. Yeah.
unusual. Yeah, it's you're aiming something at a kid that
Mm-hmm.
inherently isn't a kid's IP in it, and I just find that really weird.
Because I mean, I just want to point out, like, just something I realised there is that nowadays there are a lot of like colouring books and things that are targeted towards adults and things. You know, like I'm trying to think. I don't even know if there are licensed ones, but there'll be ones that are done kind of tongue in cheek or
Yeah,
kind of parodies or whatever, or
yeah.
just general colouring ones for like a de-stress thing. But I just want to point out that that was not, at least when I was growing up, I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but it wasn't really the norm growing up in like the 90s, 2000s. Because, yeah, if you thought of a colouring book, you would think, all right, something for kids, not for adults. So clearly it was targeted towards a younger demographic, but who in their right mind was showing them this version of June? I don't I don't know. I mean, I don't mind it as much as some other people, but nah, I wouldn't show kids it. No.
No, and just while we're on this theme, I'll do another quick couple of honourable mentions then about franchises or products that aren't really for kids. So Micro Machines, they did a line based on the Aliens movies,
Oh no.
which again, you know, cute little cars and characters, but again, the natural thing is surely if you're buying them for kids, so are they not going to show an interest in what that is
Mhm.
based on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Please don't show them aliens.
I mean, if you want to traumatise them, go ahead, but please don't.
And the other one on a similar theme, and if I've timed this right, my last episode will have mentioned toasters similar to this, but there was, and possibly still is, a toaster that toasts the image of Freddy Krueger into your bread. So from Nightmare on Elm Street. So again, and if we think about it in the film, Freddy Krueger, the character, both as the villain he is, and also what he was supposed to have done or what he did do before he became the character in that film, not a pleasant person at all, right? And yet, you're now serving toast with his image at breakfast.
As part of a balanced breakfast, of course. Yeah.
It's incredible. And okay, I'm not saying kids don't go out and buy toasters. I'm not saying that.
I mean, back then, you never know. It was a different time.
I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, you're gonna be serving that up at the dinner table. And again, it's like, have some of this for breakfast. Have some of this murderer, mass murderer in this film that terrorizes you in your sleep, and
Honey, bring out the fine china. We're eating well tonight.
All you need to do is spread some jam on that, and then you're going to really traumatize the kids, then, aren't you?
Yeah, and I thought the R2D2 toaster or things like that was weird. That's horrific.
Do you know what though? I want to move on to. I've got so many funny ones, and I don't know what to do here. I'm going to go on a slightly bizarre one, and do you know The Watchmen?
Oh, yes.
Now, I know this was a promotional thing. This wasn't necessarily marketed as a product, but they did for the film. You could get a Watchmen condom. Now,
I beg your pardon?
You heard, Satsu. Now, they're saying, basically, as the article I found, I said, considering it features what's been routinely touted as one of the most awkward sex scenes in history on film, it's quite bizarre that the folks over at Warner Brothers marketing department thought a condom would be the ideal thing to promote The Watchmen. But this is the thing. This is why I included it. The product was promoted with the phrase, "we're society's only protection." And the condom came in a fetching shade of neon blue, which possibly is linked to Dr. Manhattan and the fact that he's obviously fully naked in the book. But the funny thing is, this article I found says, since the film came out 8 years ago and condoms usually have a shelf life of about 5 years, they're strictly collectible rather than practical at this point. So,
I mean, and I thought the Angry Birds underwear was weird.
Yeah, again, it's just.
But I mean, what? No offense, because I'm a nerd myself, but what nerd out there is saying, "Oh, baby, do you want to come back to my place?" And he pulls out a freaking Watchmen thing out like that, and you're like, "No, I'm good. I'm good. You just keep that over there, as well as a 6 foot distance away from me."
It's like, look, anything that promotes, safe sex, absolutely. But a Watchmen condom?
No.
But using the line "where society's only protection," that's where it gains the points for me.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I think that's a case of they thought of the line first and then they worked backwards. Clearly, it's like, okay, we can't sell people shields, we can't sell them protective pads. How do we go down from here? And then they came up with that and went, you know what? We can make this work. We can make this work.
It's just brilliant. Yeah, so you heard the warning at the end. If you've got it, it's collectible only. Right, over to you. Over to you.
Oh my God. I don't
How do you follow that one?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of gaming ones, I have to say. So, speaking of something that is thoroughly not attractive either, and I think you know where I'm going with this, and I'm looking at you to give me the green light over this. The Dead Island.
Oh no, go for it.
Variety.
I mean, go for it. Yeah,
So
that is horrific.
I feel as if this is the thing that actually inspired both this episode and future episodes to come. Oh my God, where do I even begin with this? So, gaming historians, gaming fans, whatever you want to call yourselves, you'll know what I'm talking about here. There have been a lot of really weird merch and collectible ideas in terms of gaming, but I feel as if one of the most infamous ones I have ever seen, and there's been plenty, I'll get on to a very visceral one that I know you'd brought up to me, and I genuinely didn't believe you, but I'm going to hold off for that one. So, for the one I'm talking about, it was based off of a zombie game called Dead Island, and it was one of these classic stories of, oh, it's a game that everyone was really hyped for, but the marketing didn't actually match the final product. It was a whole mess. So, what they decided to do was they created this collectible where they're like, we're going to have this collectible of basically the bust of a particular character. And I was like, all right, okay, so, like, what, a zombie or, something like that to fit in. Long story short, they had basically the torso, no arms, just like the torso of a woman with her chest was covered by a bikini.
A bust of a bikini-clad
A bust of a
wasn't
bust.
it? Yeah,
Yeah, a bust of a bust, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, no head, no arms. A bit like a very distasteful Venus de Milo. That's the only way I could describe it.
That is very, very well put. Very well put.
Venus de Milo, but American. Okay. Like, I don't even know where to begin with it because... But I don't know what's worse, the fact that, the bikini has a flag of America on it, it's like the American print. But I don't know what's worse, the fact that this exists or the fact that there's a British equivalent where
Yes,
it's the
that's
Union
right.
Jack,
Yeah.
which I couldn't believe it. I was like, there is no way they printed two of these things. And of course, there was huge backlash. The people who say that video games cause violence, that didn't help that crowd either, because you're basically selling a decapitated and chopped up torso of a woman. It's absolutely horrible, but it actually makes me think back to an experience that I had. See, in Comic-Con, when you're going around the stalls and someone tries to sell you something, and it's just like the weirdest thing. You're like, no, I'm not going to buy this. For me, and this kind of ties into the weird merch, is, have you ever seen Twin Peaks? Sorry, before I go on.
Yes, yeah.
So, Laura Palmer?
Oh, I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Oh, yep. So for those who don't know what I'm about to say here, like, Twin Peaks is like a murder mystery show about the death of like this girl called Laura Palmer in this small American town called Twin Peaks, and what ends up happening is the very first scene is the police finding this poor like teenage girl's body wrapped up in plastic. Funko Pop saw that and said, we're going to make a Funko out of that.
It's astonishing, yeah.
It's absolutely crazy because I wanted and I've still got it, but I wanted the Dale Cooper one, Kyle MacLachlan's character, which is weird he's coming up again. First the June Activity book, now this. But I wanted one of them and because, I really liked the character, so I was like, oh, I want to buy this. And the guy behind the stall was like, oh, I can sell you this for half price. And I was like, oh, cool, what's that? And then I took a closer look and saw it's literally a Funko Pop wrapped in plastic. Again, two girls, one reusable cup. They're going to love this. Yeah, wrapped in plastic, basically a dead Funko. And he said, do you want it? I can give you it for half price, blah, blah, blah. And I stared the guy in the face and I said, listen, if I get that Funko, I will have no end of questions from people saying, oh, who's that? What's that from? And having to explain why I've got a Funko of a dead person on my shelf. I was like, that is not worth the hassle. But I mean, at least there you could kind of explain it away. For the Dead Island bust, you couldn't. You genuinely, I cannot explain that away.
The Funko Pop, at least, and I'm still not saying I'd have it, but at least it's in that stylized, but we all know what the Funko Pops look like, so it's not horrific to look at. Whereas the Dead Island one, look, right, if you it's in keeping with the game, right? So when they were planning this,
Mhm.
it probably seemed like a good idea because it's in keeping with, like as I said, with the game. But as a piece to have out on a wall, I don't know. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
it didn't go
It's
through too much quality checks, I think, or what are they, the audiences, the control groups. It didn't go through too many of those, I think. So
I think the control group needs to be in some kind of list, to be
yeah,
honest.
well,
Like, if they did have it, because there is no way that someone was working on this. And I get that at the time, because I can't remember off the top of my head when this came out. I think it was like the 2010s, I want to say, give or take. I get that gaming was in a kind of more graphic like landscape. You had like God of War, you had the latter half of like Gears of War as well, and like Mortal Kombat and things like all these violent. And I know I'm kind of pulling from all like timelines here, but the fact that they thought that this would be the right time and the right decision to market something like this.
I'm just out of time. Do you want to give the mention to the other one that you alluded
Oh,
to?
yes. The other one, again, this is the other one that I think solidified that we were going to do an episode on this, was the. How do I even begin describing this? So basically, it comes from the game Fear, which was like a horror FPS, and slight spoilers and, a slight content warning here. But long story short, at the end of the second game, one of the villains ends up getting impregnated by the player character. It's like a very brutal, horrible scene. And the fine folk at, I want to say EA, but I don't even know if they would be stupid enough to make this. Because I know I know they made the third one, I'm sure, and that got a lot of backlash. But yeah, they made a model of the pregnant witch woman. To this day, I think it's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in terms of gaming collectibles.
It
Like,
really is, isn't it? It is that bad to look at. And so just to be
mm,
sure, the publisher was Warner Brothers for that.
oh, okay. Warner Brothers, what the hell? This is the second time you've popped up in this.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, first Watchmen, now this. What is wrong with you?
The thing is, I'd never
Oh.
seen that until I literally stumbled upon it while researching for this. But
Mhm.
it's an ugly and really bad taste item, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredibly bad taste, yeah. Especially considering that this is a horror game, and without getting into the nitty gritty, the fact that it's a horrific thing that happens and everything, and then all of a sudden you've got someone saying, you know what? We should make a model out of this.
So it was
Like,
glow in the dark as well, if I remember right.
oh, Jesus Christ. Like, honestly, you know how people have their red flags? Like,
Yeah.
oh, someone's got like a live, laugh, love sign
Yeah.
up on the wall, or oh, they've got a Red Dead Redemption 2 candle, or they smell like Leon Kennedy. Those are all legitimate red flags there. But if they've got this, like, sitting up on the mantle, no,
Run.
just run. Don't look back, run. Thank me later, but just run and get out of there.
I want to do a couple of quick game related ones before I
Okay.
do another one of mine. Oh, the first one is a fun one. Rather than it being unusual, it's a fun one. But there was a Street Fighter the movie game, which I think is funny because the Street Fighter movie was based on Street Fighter the game. So you've got a game based on the movie of Street Fighter, which is based on the game Street Fighter. So I just found that a fun little video game inception.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. But the main one I wanted to mention, and I'm hoping she's listening to this right now, and we've
Oh, yeah.
mentioned her a couple of times. So Marie from Two Girls, One Reusable Cup, if you're listening, if you haven't got this one is probably going to be of interest to you. So we have got, from my favourite game series, I'm not sure if I've said that before, but Mass Effect.
Oh, you like Mass Effect? Yeah. Never heard you talk about Mass Effect at all. No.
I've given it a dabble. I've dabbled in it. But
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I love the Mass Effect games. Apparently, well, not apparently, you can buy, and I've seen it for £28.44, a Garrus body pillowcase, right? And the reason I am talking to Marie now is Garrus is her favourite. I think she's actually said it in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
He's her space husband, right? So the description goes, settle into Garrus's embrace or wrap him snugly in yours. You might even imagine him whispering sweet nothings into your ear, like, your waist is very supportive, or let's sleep in. Those calibrations can wait. One can dream, right? Especially with a pillowcase like this. One side lets you meet his gaze as he lies on his back with his head on his hand. The other side has him curled up on his side. Both artworks feature him in the same sleepwear. So I put to you, Satsu, the Garrus body pillowcase.
You ever feel like we've gone too far as like a species, you know? Like, do you feel as if there's aliens out there that caught like a transmission from the internet and they just saw that body pillow and they went, oh no, you're not making a body pillow out of me, I'm out of here.
It's like, yeah, the shuttle's just touching down. They quickly catch a glimpse of some of this and then they take off straight away. Yeah.
Look, all I'm saying is if the Vulcans saw like the body pillows of them, they would be out of here. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, it's... As far as I remember, though, it's not the only character to have a body pillow, which makes it even more disturbing, because I know they've got like a Tally body pillow, they've got a, I want to say Liara, you know, I'd be surprised if they didn't, to be honest. And I could be wrong, but I'm sure they had a Rex one.
Wow.
I could be totally wrong in that. Maybe the fever dream just hit me too soon. You know, like, oh my god! But yeah,
I guess
like,
just a bit of context. So in the Mass Effect games, your character can romance a number of characters, including Garrus and Liara, the one you mentioned, Tali. So I kind of get there's that romance and like art fan sort of media. Well, it's just that step between having the video game and then having the characters curled up on a pillowcase. I don't know. It's just odd, isn't it?
I mean, I don't even know. I'm assuming this is the official website. It's like the BioWare Gear website. You know, you've got Liara, of course. Yes, there is a Rex one, but there's one that I actually didn't expect to see tonight. Do you remember Blasto?
Wow.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, it's like a purple space jellyfish. Oh no, it says pre-order. Oh, that's even worse.
It's even better. Well, I was going to say, yeah, not even better, even worse. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. If you really do like Garrus, there you go. I think 28.44 is probably fairly reasonable for merch. But yeah, there you go. Check out the BioWare website.
And Marie, if you are listening to this, no, the PodPack Collective will not reimburse you as a business expense. I just want to make that very clear for legal reasons.
Right. I actually now want to dip back into the world of film.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a couple of big franchises here. I'm going to start with, I've got a couple, so I'll read them both to you, but I've got a couple on James Bond. So obviously, iconic franchise, right? Iconic character.
Oh, God. Yeah, I just remembered what you're going to bring up.
So, you know, possibly full of classy merchandise, you know, cars, watches, suits, you know. No, they did, I think it was in the 90s. Well, at the time of Timothy Dalton, they had a time with KFC and you could get character ties from KFC.
Character ties, did you say?
Yeah, so I'm looking at it here. So basically there was a competition I think KFC ran on the release of License to Kill that was to be Bond for a day. I'm going to guess you could go in like car chase and maybe in a helicopter or something. I don't know. But as part of it, they were giving away ties. So I can't see from the image, but there's something at the top. But these are all KFC and KFC branded. They've got the Aston Martin on one in a cartoony fashion. And on the other one, there's all sorts of a panel of cartoon images of like the Aston Martin, him in a boat, him in a scuba gear sort of, or maybe the jetpack. Can't quite see, it's a bit small. But yeah, KFC James Bond ties.
Oh my God, I'm looking at it now, yeah.
License to grill. That should have been the tagline.
Do you know, actually, funny enough, I saw a snack van with that name once.
Really?
And it made me really sad for the rest of the day because I was like, no matter what I do in my life, no matter what I say, I will never have a pun that great again. So, Oh, yeah,
But
that.
surprisingly, though, that is not the one I want to bring up. That's not the main James Bond one, and you know where I'm going now.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I had nightmares after you showed me.
In order to celebrate National Ice Cream Week, an ice lolly company commissioned a poll to find out which male celebrity British women most wanted to see on the end of a stick. Surprisingly, they didn't pick leathery old Roger Moore in a safari suit. Instead,
Uh,
instead preferring Daniel Craig emerging from the ocean in Casino Royale. Del Monte Superfruit Smoothies, who produced the limited edition replica lollies, said artists worked tirelessly to recreate a sculpture of 41-year-old Craig in the scene where he emerges from the sea in Casino Royale. The smoothie lollies were blueberry, pomegranate, and cranberry flavoured and under 100 calories each. The likeness is quite uncanny, isn't it?
Unfortunately so, yes. Like,
It's bizarre, isn't it?
it is horrifying. Like, the one that I saw, and it's like a picture of this woman who seems very happy with her life choices and what's brought her to this moment. And she's like sucking on a lolly of. It's like it's perfectly sculpted. Like, see the craftsmanship, I genuinely can't fault it. But it's like this very detailed mold of, for the most part, it's like obviously waist up, but of Daniel Craig, but he's not got a shirt on, so they've had to, sculpt the abs and everything, and it's just his like vacant face looking out.
Doesn't help that it's purple as well, right?
No, well, the one that I saw was like red. I was like, why? Why? I mean, as you said, comes in different flavors, but
Yeah.
I don't get that. I don't get why somebody made it. I mean, I know why. I know there was I hope there was a demographic and just not one person. Yeah.
I think we've just got to say unusual and move swiftly on. I think. I will put pictures out. I will put pictures out with this.
Oh, please do.
So yeah, that's the thing. I'm aware that a lot of what we're saying is there's a visual element. So yeah, I think over the full week that this goes out, I will put all the pictures.
I mean, or come over for PodPack date night. We've got candles. We've got an Xbox fridge.
I'm washing my hair that night, Satsu. Sorry, right?
No. To be funny enough, so am I. So I don't know who's going to be there.
Right. So where are you taking us now?
So the last one that I've got on my list, because honestly there were so many, I was actually tossing up between, and I know you've got something similar on your list, but it was a toss-up between a Star Wars one where it was, and again, I don't know if this was to coincide with the original trilogy or if it was the like prequel trilogy, but it was an R2D2 aquarium.
Oh, I've seen that, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it looks really cool, but why? Just again, I don't get it, but then again, Star Wars has always had like kind of weird merch tie-ins.
Oh, I wonder what you're going to say there. Careful.
No. I mean, they have had toilet roll. They've been plastered on cereal. Apparently, the toilet roll one is true. It was on a trivia quiz, but yeah, it's like just honestly, they've been on everything essentially, but. The one I want to bring up as a kind of finale, which is kind of ironic given what I'm about to say, was Star Trek. And Star Trek has had a lot of weird things. It's had like the commemorative plates, which I always find weird. It's like, who wants to be eating dinner? And then they look up and it's just Patrick Stewart on a plate looking down at you. Like, I know that's a famous like merch thing, but there's a lot of weird stuff. But the one that I found really weird was you can get Star Trek coffins. And I don't... the thing is, I get that you want to, go off in style and everything, and you want to show you're a Trekkie and things, but really? Like, I mean, if that's your choice, like, I'm not going to make fun of that, but...
It fits in with the title of this unusual merch, unusual tie-in. I mean, not saying that you can't have it. Ultimately, deep down, everything we've mentioned, maybe bar a couple
Except
I
for
might
the Dead
mention.
Island bust
Well,
or the Fear model. No.
Well, and the broomstick, but maybe. Well, yeah. The models, and maybe one I might mention in my finale. None of these are particularly like bad. They're just, as it says, they're unusual. You wouldn't look at Star Trek and think, bet you they're going to bring out a range of coffins. You just wouldn't think that, would you?
I mean, they're probably thinking that they're going to get, shot out into space, and it's like, about that. Again, like, there's nothing wrong if that's what you want to go for, but at the same time, it seems weird that they officially license, because as far as I know, the people who own Star Trek, and I don't know if it was the case when these were created, but Star Trek is very much like Disney and Marvel and things, like, in terms of their property. Like, they're very protective about it. They copyright strike, fan films and creations and things. They did it with a series called, I think it was Star Trek Axanar, which was like supposed to be this fan film that they got previous actors from the series in. It was really cool, but then CBS was like, no, we're not having it. So to think that something like that wasn't okay, but Star Trek coffins were, I don't know if that's the case nowadays. Like, I genuinely don't know. And it's not bad, it's just very odd.
Well, if they do one based on the Normandy from Mass Effect, I mean, literally, I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, do you want the SR1 or 2? Because I feel as if you'd be getting the first one cheaper.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
You'd have an open top for that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Spoilers for Mass Effect. Sorry.
Yeah. Right, I am going to finish with another huge franchise, and it is Star Wars. And then I've got one quick honourable one to mention at the end. So Star Wars, I say I'm going to do it in this order first. The most unusual and probably wrong at the same time was the Jar Jar Binks tongue lollipop. Have you seen that?
Oh, I have. I am well aware of it. I've seen many a picture of this accursed thing.
Yeah, so basically imagine a push pop that has got Jar Jar's head on it, and the lollipop is the tongue. So you're pushing the tongue out of the head. And yeah, you're kind of then asking people to have the lollipop, which is Jar Jar's tongue, right? And that's a bit I think I'm having trouble with this item.
I mean, you're essentially asking people to French kiss Jar Jar Binks, which,
yeah.
I mean, I like Star Wars, okay, but I don't like it that much.
Well, the irony was, he wasn't one of the most hated characters, right? And you're asking to do that.
I mean, it's like, come on, guys. like set an expectation of buying me dinner first, but please don't.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to do that to Jar Jar. Jesus.
But is it me? It just feels slightly unusual, right?
Actually, that does remind me of my counterpoint to you when, in return, when you sent me that and said, "Oh, this is terrible, isn't it?" I went, "Well, speaking of very, inappropriate things."
Oh yes.
The buzz, like, this is infamous and amazingly horrifying.
I'd never seen that.
So, for anyone who's like, "What are you talking about here?" There is a cup. I don't know if it's official by Disney. I'm assuming it is, or if it's through the cinemas. But anyway, it's Buzz Lightyear. And it's like Buzz Lightyear with his arms crossed, big smile on his face. But much like the Daniel Craig lollipop, they've only got him from his waist up. Guess where the straw is hanging?
Please don't send your answers in to us here, please.
Yeah, please don't. But I'll give you the answer right now. It's basically near enough his legs to look very, very dodgy, to the extent you would not be asking for this in the cinema. And if you were, you'd be asked to promptly leave. But that's
it's definitely not safe for work, right?
Absolutely not.
That drinking cup, yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to stay hydrated and maintain eye contact with Buzz Lightyear while I do that. That's just horrifying. Yeah.
So swiftly moving on, the main Star Wars one I wanted to talk about was, and I sent you the picture of this because I think you have to see it to believe it, is the C-3PO tape dispenser. Now, You might be sitting there thinking, what's wrong with a tape dispenser? Well, imagine C3PO laying back and the tape is between his legs. So his legs are separated. The tape is in between and you're pulling the tape from there. Now, the thing that makes it even more bizarre, and I will put the picture out, is the look on his face. And I don't know if he's looking surprised or terrified in this. It's incredible. Now, that it was released in 1980 only for Japan, and you can get it on eBay currently for $1,379.
Wait, sorry, how much?
Yeah, it's a collectible at this point, isn't it? But yeah, $1,379.
Oh my god! I
So,
don't
yeah.
even know where to begin with that. Yeah,
But I mean, what do you think when you look at it? It is. Come on, again, it fits the word unusual, right?
again, I feel as if this very much fits into like the MO of Star Wars merchandise. Like they just threw everything at the wall to see what stuck. You know, they threw Darth Vader onto like packets, they throw Yoda onto things, but I I get they were probably, in fact, no. I'm going to backtrack here because I was going to say, who in their right mind in the marketing department, any marketers out there, please let me know. But who out there saying, do you know what demographic we haven't tapped into? The office workers and the stationery crowd. They're going to want a piece of this action. And instead of having like a cool one such as, I don't know, the tape hanging off of Darth Vader's lightsaber or even off an X-Wing or something, that would be cool. But whose first thought was, right, we're going to have C-3PO lying on his back, legs sprawled, and we're going to have tape coming out of it. You know, like I don't know, it's like the weirdest nativity scene I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, have him standing up, holding the tape out, and you take it from the... But yeah, bizarre.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, I've got one final one. Now, this last one might not be the most unusual in terms of what it is, but it feels the most inappropriate in terms of branding. And it is the Little Mermaid fish nuggets.
Oh my god.
So let that sink in, right? So it was created by American Pride Seafood. They were made from pollock. But the funny thing as well, they weren't called fish nuggets or fish bites. They were called Dipsy Doos, DOOZ, possibly to distract kids from the true horror of branding fish nuggets with the Little Mermaid. This box of 44 chopped and moulded deep sea doos also came with 3 tattoos.
They were just throwing everything out, weren't they?
And the funny thing with this, it says, look, before you say, but fish eat other fish, and I've not seen the film, it says, let us remind you that in the movie, Ariel's dad refers to humans as spineless, savage, harpooning fish eaters. So the fact that we're then got fish nuggets branded under the Little Mermaid, I mean, that's what I was trying to say, right? Look, it's not unusual in terms of the product, but it's got to be the worst or the most inappropriate branded item, probably on the, well, almost probably on the list we've had tonight, right?
Well, that actually brought back some terrible memories there. See, when you talked about, of all things, a Disney film being very inappropriate with a merch towards like a film based on the sea and the ocean. Because do you remember the film Luca by any chance? Like it's one of the relatively newer ones, like the last 5 to 10
Do you know,
years.
I recall it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so like long story short, it's like fish people, like they are fish creatures, but when they go out of the water, they turn into humans, but when their body gets like wet, their skin turns back into like the, you know, like the scales and the fish creature, and you know, it's all about them fitting into society, blah blah blah. So apparently, and again, this just shows that like McDonald's and everyone else just has not learned a lesson. They had this toy where the idea was relatively simple. It was, you had a toy of the 2 main characters, they're like these 2 wee boys, and when you put their bodies into the water, they, you know, their skin colour changes and they turn into like the fish creatures. The only thing is, it's very appropriate when you've got kids holding these dolls underwater and the faces start turning blue.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yes. So I wish I could say they learned a lesson from that, but
Wow.
clearly there was no quality control there. There was none whatsoever.
I mean, we just got to be careful because when we start doing the PodPack merch, we got to make sure that we don't feature on a future episode of this, right? That's the only thing.
PodPack candles, what are they? You know.
Did you know what? I was going to say something, but we'll move on. Right. So, look, Satsu, I love having you on. It's always a brilliant conversation. And yeah, I can't wait to get you on for another one. I've already got a couple of ideas for you. So we'll discuss that off air. But before we go, do you just want to shout out, where people can listen to you? I mean, 60,000 people already have, but do you want to let people know where they can find you on the socials and where they can hear you?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you again, Dan, for inviting me back after that very harrowing list. All I'll say is I hope you have me back after that, but, we'll talk. But yeah, if you want to listen to any of my content or really any collabs that, of course, you and I have done as well, Dan, you, of course, can listen to us over at our website, chatsunami.com. as well as all good podcast apps. You can also find us on really mainly all of the where all the cool kids hang out in social media. We've got an X account /Twitter at Chatsunami We've got Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're more or less everywhere. So just look for the Red Panda under the name Chatsunami, and yeah, we'll pretty much see you there. And if you want to check out the PodPack Collective and find out what we're all doing, then you can check us out on Twitter /X over at PodPack Collect. And if you want to check us out on Instagram, which I have to say, really excited to get that rolling, then yeah, you can check us out there at PodPack Collective. So yeah, once again, Dan, thank you so much for having me on.
No, thank you as always for coming on. And yeah, look, if you're one of the few people that aren't subscribed to Chatsunami, go over there, do it now. Do a follow, do a like, give him a rating. Incredible guy. For me, you're listening to me, so you know where to find me. But if you want to get in touch, you've got an idea for a show, you want to be a guest on a show, or you just want to say hi, just search for Casting Views across all the social media platforms, or drop me an email at castingviewspod@gmail.com. All that's left to say is I'll see you next week for another episode of Casting Views.
1, 2, 3, 4. If I want your opinion, I will give it to you. Come on, check what we got, 'cause you